Many years ago, while I was a student, I would always go to the library with a big bag filled with books to read. And when I got to the library, I would borrow more books to use in addition to the ones I brought. I would spend several hours there studying really hard. Later in the night, feeling hungry and tired, I would retire to the comfort of my room to sleep. This was my daily routine. Fast forward a couple of months, and 3 weeks after the exams, the results were out. I had failed the exam. I eventually ended up repeating the whole year. If this is you right now, or you're almost getting there, won't you want to know how to cover twice as much studying in half the amount of time and still be effective in the exams? Well, in this two-part video, I'm going to give you 11 techniques how to study smarter, not harder. Hey guys, you're welcome to my channel. If you like the content, please hit the subscribe button and bell icon to get notified every time I post a new video. Like I said earlier, I'm going to give you 11 techniques how to study smarter, not harder. Let's start. Number one technique is to break your study sessions into small parts. This technique is also called the Pomodoro technique. But how exactly do you go about this Pomodoro technique? Well, based on your study plan, you have to identify which task or which part of the curriculum you're going to be reading. Then set your timer or your watch for 25 minutes, for instance. Then get into your study zone or study bubble for those 25 minutes with no distractions whatsoever. When the timer goes off, stop work and take a 5-minute break. For instance, taking a walk, gisting with friends, eating, or watching YouTube. Then repeat the sequence all over again. However, after doing this 4 times, every 5th time, increase the break or the break times to between 15 and 30 minutes. The study suggested that students who take regular breaks from their study will remember materials better than those who complete study sessions without a break. It was described as Zeigarnik's effect. It postulates that the brain remembers incomplete material more and processes information better, and also has more clarity after those breaks. So, even if you didn't finish your task before the break, it's a win-win situation for you. Also, I would advise you to find your own attention span. The 25 minutes I mentioned may be too small or too much for you, so just find what works for you whilst using the same technique. The second technique is the 80-20 rule, or the PARETO principle. Here, you spend 80% of your time studying 20% of the most important material. But let me ask a question. How do you identify the 20% of the most important material? Firstly, most of what is discussed in the classroom come out in the exam. If it wasn't discussed, you probably don't need to spend all your time studying it. Secondly, note the amount of time the teacher spends explaining a particular topic. If so much time is spent, it's usually something you'd need to remember for the exam. Thirdly, take very serious notes when your lecturer says, these are things that could come out as exam questions. Write it down immediately. Don't think he's just mentioning it for emphasis. Then have it in mind that the aim of studying the information is to understand, as it builds the core of your knowledge, enabling you to apply it to more difficult exam questions. Technique number 3 is Feynman technique. An American philosopher once said, and I quote, "The person who says he knows but cannot express it usually does not know what he thinks." Unquote. This is what the Feynman technique seeks to correct. There are basically 4 steps to this technique. Step 1. Pick a topic and study it. Step 2. Explain what you studied to a child or someone who has absolutely no idea of the topic, using the most simplest language to that person's understanding. If you're all by yourself, you could write down or write out your ideas on a clear sheet of paper using only basic terms. Step 3. Identify areas where you've struggled in your understanding of the topic while trying to explain it. Step 4. Go back and review what you studied to understand it better. But then, return to step 2, where you have to explain it or rewrite it all over again. This technique allows you to rip up ideas and build them back from the ground up. Technique 4 is spaced repetition. Some people try to study for the entire day. This gets the brain tired and burnt out. They'd hardly remember a large percentage of what they've read if they were asked probably a couple of minutes afterwards. Frankly, your mind gets to remember things, theories and concepts repeated daily rather than reading it up all in one day. This is the reasoning behind spaced repetition. In addition, you could mix up the topics to strengthen as well as to solidify your understanding. This leads me to technique number 5, which is timetable. Now, building up a timetable involves planning your hour, your day, your week, and so on. It's up to you to write the topics to be studied in a daily planner or a calendar or an app. In these, you fix in your topics of choice. This technique is based on the idea that the brain is more productive when it knows what to do and when to do it. In essence, you're developing a routine using those tools. Technique number 6 is a study guide. A study guide is just like a cheat booklet or a mini review document. It is a booklet, or could be a sheet of paper with words, written by you, containing a condensed version or synopsis of important information you need for upcoming exams. Now, you may have extracted it from your textbook, the internet, notes, and etc. It would be especially useful for theories or concepts with which you've had issues memorizing. It's best written when you've just started studying the particular material. Now, put down various snippets of information on the topic following extensive research, making sure to keep it as simple as possible. Now, I initially said a study guide was just like a cheat booklet or a cheat sheet because when your exams are close by, you'd only need to refer to it to get all the information you need. And not just to get your information you need, to get it very quickly. I can assure you, this is surely a smarter way to study. Let's recap. If you need to study smarter, not harder, you could use the following techniques. 1. Break your study session into smaller parts. 2. Use the 80-20 rule or PARETO principle. 3. Use the Feynman technique. 4. Do spaced repetition. 5. Use a timetable. And 6. Use a study guide. Please stay tuned for part 2 and the conclusion of 11 techniques how to study smarter, not harder. I hope you enjoyed the video, but if you have any comments or suggestions, please place it in the comment section below.